Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome. Welcome to the show at our new place. It's our second show here. We thought we'd try something different today and open up these doors, which means that you're going to be probably hearing sounds from there, although folks at City Paper stumble in later than they do at most places of employ. So you're not seeing anything really behind me at this point. We just thought we'd give it a shot. And if it's annoying to them, which I think it would be, or even annoying to me if I'm hearing them, which I am a bit, whatever. So it is Tuesday, and that means my sister Susan is joining us for the first time in a long time, and the first time this year. Hi, Suze.
Hi. Well, oh, ye of little faith.
Yeah, there you are. Okay. All right. Good. Wasn't sure. You were fashionably late.
No, I walked the dog at dawn, and he's fed, and
Good.
And I was actually just distracted reading, and I went, oh my goodness.
Yes, right. Oh, whoops. Well, here we are in our new place, and so far, the good news is that people are reporting that the audio levels between me and you and callers all seem to be the same.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, so...
well, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clearly. And the thing is it just seems like a lot of our troubles, technical problems over the years, were a direct result of, the place we were in. And we did not in any way control the infrastructure of that place. And I actually think the people who didn't have our best interest at heart, I know did. So anyway, this will be better, I'm quite sure. But I'm sort of almost sitting in the newsroom, which is mostly empty now, but we're going to see if that is too distracting. Well, the odds are I'm not going to be doing the show from this place, just wanting you to know we're still finding our way. All righty, well, Susan.
Yes, explain to me, because I'm not watching. Are you keeping the doors open because otherwise you are suffocating in a closet?
No. We are sitting in what will be the conference room, and odds are we'll be next door in a closet. I don't have my head. I'm on a short leash, so I can't turn. I keep sort of choking myself. But yeah, anyway, it's so much nicer here. I cannot tell you. It feels like a newsroom, not an insurance office. I mean, this just is good. And I think everybody's really happy. So anyway.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Mazel tov on your move.
Yeah. It turned out to be okay. I'm always anxious about transitions, and this has so far worked out really well. We were trying to find some wood to knock on, and we can't. Isn't that often the case? You say knock on wood, and then everybody looks around, and there's no wood anywhere? Do you know what I mean?
Not even a pencil he had?
No. There literally is no wood in here, right? We have scoured the place. No, it's all plastics and things like that. Anyway, I have to, so I hate to jump right into all the horror, so let's do different horrors, okay? I saw a story about from out
I'm
of...
not up on during that.
Okay, that's fine. Well, here, let me...
go ahead.
I'll fill you in on two that got my attention. Number one. Kids in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, throwing snowballs at cars that were passing by.
No.
Yeah. One of the drivers shot him.
Oh, God.
They weren't killed.
Well, I knew someone was dead. I just didn't know in what direction.
No.
Not killed, but the guy.
No. So the good news is, no. did not kill them. They haven't found the guy. But it was a 12-year-old girl and a 13-year-old boy were shot, but are going to be okay. Throwing snowballs at cars is what you do when you're a kid, isn't it?
In Wisconsin, right? Yeah, I think so. I mean,
no,
I
it's not
did
right.
At each other, at cars, at trees, at squirrels.
You do because you're a kid, and I'm sure there have been many a time when a driver will slam on the brakes and come running after a kid. But geez, isn't that something? So anyway, just saying that's our new normal in America. Also.
Well, why not? I got a gun. I might as well use it.
Yeah.
But it's not, having guns all around you has nothing to do with it. But I'm just saying, if that guy wasn't driving around with a gun in his car, he wouldn't be shooting at children.
Unbelievable. Although I remember as a driver being really pissed off when I got hit by a snowball because it startled me, Well,
yes, but then I started living in places like St. Louis where they had these things on trees that looked like big, round, fuzzy, green peaches, but they weren't. They were just big balls.
Oh, we've got some of those. Yeah.
And those would drop off and hit your car, and you'd have a heart attack.
I don't know. What are those? Because there's one of those on Wilkins near my house. And they do. This is a tree that produces something as large as a grapefruit that's green and, and knobby.
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy, sort of fuzzy. And, one of those things dropping on you would be, what the hell kind of a tree? Obviously, the fruit, it appears that even like the squirrels don't want it.
And I don't know why you'd plant that tree because it does have what seems to be this useless fruit that does make a mess.
Yeah.
And
that
you tumble over and that hit you on the head. I mean, it's like
what is the purpose of this tree? Huh? We ask. Okay, so
I'm just saying there are things in nature that throw stuff at your car, and you don't get out and try and shoot them.
Yeah. The other thing is, and I know you're happy you're in California now for the winter, but back in your residence state of Illinois, the new year brought with it recreational marijuana legalization.
Yeah,
I know. So so you're every state you're in, you're able to, walk into a store. Except that's not true. Listen, it's not true
in Wisconsin, but
but it's not true in Illinois either. I have to tell you, they are so unprepared for what they did. So they rolled this out, and there were literally tens of thousands of people standing outside in freezing temperatures trying to get into one of the. There's all of 8 dispensaries in Chicago. 8.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that ain't enough.
I know where they all are.
And then they ran out. They ran out of pot. So they aren't.
Well, good.
Well,
they'll be ramped up by the time I get back. And you know what? There is no state that needs the money worse than Illinois. I am just pleased as punch and confused about why they didn't do this 2 years ago.
11 states have now legalized recreational marijuana, and all of them have struggled to, figure out how to do it. It's not like they're all doing it in the same way, to adopt regulations, to do this, to do that, and
Michigan took 2 years. They approved recreational 2 years ago, and their first they just opened their first dispensary, I think 2 months ago, and only then I believe in Ann Arbor.
Well, it says right here that demand from recreational pot users outpaces medical marijuana use by up to 10 times. And it will be months and months before the existing growers that Illinois is using are able to get anywhere near the demand to satiate Illinois consumers. Even though it's all...
Well, and again, let me put a spotlight on why that is. That their medical, the list of approved reasons for medical marijuana is so short that things that are routinely covered in other places are not covered, like anxiety and stuff like that.
But if you say anxiety, which Pennsylvania just added, who isn't anxious? I mean, I was talking yesterday on the show. Everybody has an anxiety. There's an anxiety disorder in the country called Donald Trump is president.
Are there not pharmaceutical drugs for anxiety? It's not Xanax and Lazapam or whatever its generic is. And I mean, if you can take that or you can, use marijuana, what difference does it? If one works better for you than the other.
Milton says those ugly fruits are called monkey balls.
Monkey balls.
It's a good name, but still, is
that's I mean, it's descriptive. I agree, but I doubt that that's what they really are called. Is that a monkey ball?
Oh no, but Laura and Lou are telling us that it's an Osage orange. And Laura says they keep mice away if you put them in your house or garage, but then they get moldy and then they stink and all that. At least that is what we do with them here. She says there are a few huge trees by the university. She's at the University of Michigan, and she wishes everybody a happy new year. So the mice don't like them. Nobody wants, I'm telling you, mice, squirrels.
Nobody likes them.
They're ugly. Monkey balls, who the hell wants that? Osage orange. Osage orange. So anyway, there you are. Whenever we're
universally reviled. Isn't that nice? No.
Although the first time I saw one, I was walking the dog, and I thought, "Geez, what the hell? It looks like a, I don't know, a cartoon fruit. It doesn't look, whatever."
No, I know, and that thing can hurt if it falls on you.
That could be a bonk. So I wanted to tell you, I watched a 2-hour documentary on PBS last night on Joe McCarthy, former senator from the state of Wisconsin. And wow. I recommend it to everybody. I think, it was on PBS, I think. The American Experience is the show that ran this documentary. And here is what is mind-blowing about this documentary on Senator McCarthy. There were whole parts of the narration where if you didn't know who they were talking about, you would just assume that they were talking about Donald Trump and the current Republican Party. I am not kidding. It was that absolutely on point. I started scribbling some of it down because it was so mind-blowing. It talked about how the other Republicans really were appalled by much of what he was doing. But he had brought the American people with him and his demagoguery, and they were fearful of appearing, of jeopardizing their own political lives to take on McCarthy. So even though they were freaked out by his lying, by his instability, by what he was doing to the party, they saw, and this is what they said, they saw no alternative, as if the idea of doing the right thing or courage or caring about the country more than your, congressional position was not an alternative. They saw no alternative. He was their lunatic, and they had to own him. Now, how is that in any way? And then I thought, so this is always, I mean, Republicans have done this dance before, where they've kowtowed to a bully demagogue who rises from their ranks, whipping up fear, destroying lives, lying through his teeth. That was the other thing they said. McCarthy lied with impunity. And if called on his lies, he would dig in further. When hit, he would always hit back. He would never apologize. It was like I was watching, a documentary about Donald Trump that might be done in 20 years.
Well, you know who they have in common. They have Roy Cohn in common.
They have Roy Cohn. Oh, and Roy Cohn. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And his lover, this Shine guy. You got to watch this documentary. It is mind-blowing. And they also talked about the things that were freaking me out, all the parallels. McCarthy, like Trump, targeted major governmental institutions and created a sense among the people that they were, in fact, not operating in their interests. So he created a kind of deep state thing by saying the commies had infiltrated everything. And so you could not trust the American government. You could not trust media. You could not trust. He went after libraries, specifically after the State Department, after intellectuals. This is a Republican playbook that we're reliving again. It's just mind-boggling. And toward the end of it, some guy said that after the fever broke and he was censured by the Senate, which, by the way, would never happen now, because he did not have, they were able to freeze him out. Mainstream media simply started after the censure. They didn't cover him. They stopped covering the sideshow. And he was turned away. The White House wouldn't invite him to events. He was literally sort of, exiled.
Shunned.
But yes, he was shunned. But you can't do that now, because he would have social media. He would have Fox News. He would have all those talk shows. So you couldn't get rid of McCarthy today. Anyway, this guy who was talking about McCarthy said this. He said he took America on a demagogic bullying spree. That is what Trump's doing to the world right now. And the way he operates as well. He's a bully, a lying bully. And so McCarthy, Trump, I gotta tell you, one and the same. And it's Republicans who create these Frankensteins, thinking they can somehow control them for their own purposes, and then inevitably totally losing control and not having the courage to take them down. There was such a thing as moderate Republicans, and there are not now, and they eventually turned on McCarthy. I have to say one other thing about McCarthy. Oh, also, they said this, the media at the time was totally complicit because they couldn't get enough of McCarthy. He was good copy.
Yeah, he was good copy.
Well,
it is, after all, a business if it sells papers.
That's right. And that is what we've got going now. There was total complicity with American journalists because they were making money hand over fist. He was a train wreck, and people loved it. What destroyed him was actually putting the Army McCarthy hearings on television. And Americans who'd gotten just sound bites of him, a little bit here on the news, saw him day after day and saw the bully. And that's what took him down, that exposure to light. But none of that would work today. I got two more things to say about Joe McCarthy. He had hair on his hands. Susan, black hair. It looked like gorilla hands.
Yeah.
Gorilla hands. I've never seen them. I mean, I know some men have some hair on their hands, but this was like fur. It should have told you something. And the other thing is when he died, they shipped his body back up to Appleton, Wisconsin, to be buried. And a bunch of senators who had stayed, I don't know, on his side somehow, boarded the plane, and they drank. They said they were drinking the whole way. They boarded the plane in D.C. They're drinking all the way to Appleton, and they're playing poker on McCarthy's casket.
Wow. Well, he was a famous alcoholic. I mean, that's what they must have done together.
I'm just saying, the more you know history, the more it seems like we're just engaged in some do-si-doing. Just going around. It all comes back. One more word on the monkey ball tree, or the Osage orange. Gigi says the fruit, if placed in a basement, here's what Laura told us. She says will keep insects away. No one wants to be anywhere near this fruit. The fruit is known locally as monkey balls. So that might just be a Pittsburgh thing, monkey balls, huh? The structure of the tree makes dense coverage, so some people planted them as fences. And the dense coverage is good for birds, and that's your naturalist lesson for the day, she says. Where I've seen them planted, it is like on hillsides where they're trying to create I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but those are some ugly fruit. Ugh.
Really ugly, yeah.
Yeah, really ugly. Okay, what else I got here? It figures that the biggest reaction we've had is when you brought up monkey balls, even though you didn't know what they were called.
I know.
Oh.
I just, it turns out that what I find interesting, a lot of, just regular people. Which leads me to ask, I'm sure you've discussed all about the Golden Globes, but what did you think of Tom Hanks' face during the opening monologue?
I didn't talk about the Golden Globes, but I saw a bit of it, and yeah, I could see he was uncomfortable. He didn't like Ricky Gervais's monologue. I mean, Gervais was, I didn't really like it either, even though it was, snarkily funny. But, the shtick about, I don't really want to be here, I'm just here, I found it sort of offensive. If you're emceeing an event, then show up. Yeah, I didn't think it was funny. I'm sorry. I was sort of...
Well, I thought the best line actually was the head of the foreign press that got up and asked him to put it in writing.
Yeah, that this was his last one. But, he said, and, who can disagree? I mean, so he says to the star-studded people in front of him, So listen, when you win, don't come up here and start lecturing people about politics, the environment, this and that. You don't have a clue. You don't live in the real world. And don't thank your God and don't blah, blah, blah. He was really, and I thought, wow, just say thank you and get the hell off. And so the very first winner is a Muslim actor, and he gets up, and the first words out of his mouth are, Allah Akbar. So that's not the usual thank God.
But he was being funny.
I don't think so.
Right.
They asked him later, were you sincere with saying that? And he said, yes, I was. And then, of course, everybody after him did their political speeches, which I do find tiresome. But I guess they think, look, I do too. People's attention. Why not?
I thought that guy was cute, though. He did mention that his own mother was rooting for Michael Douglas.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just so, I don't know. I didn't.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares, indeed. So
I just wanted to see if there was something I should be watching, but and no, apparently not.
Well, there's lots of great stuff out there. It's not necessarily stuff that you found out about from that awards ceremony.
Right.
So Trump. I just want to say that you could have. It's beyond. I can't. I'm going to start stuttering.
No, you can't. I don't know how you just. I do not know how you discuss the fact that we are at the point that we are, where he suggests that all he has to do in the way of nodding towards Congress before he starts a war is to tweet about it, and that's enough notice.
Yeah. And I think, look, this is, we essentially do not have a real president right now. We have a crazy person who is the president, but has no interest in the job other than the power it gives him and the fact that it makes everybody have to pay attention to him. He got rid of all the so-called grown-ups that were supposedly to keep him in check. We are at a very dangerous time because this guy's got another year in the saddle. And he's only going to get more so. There's no doubt about that. There's no strategy. The fact that he would order this assassination and not think, okay, so then what will the Iranians do?
So then what happens?
Right. So we'll do that, and then what do they do? And then if they do that, what would we do? And didn't think about the escalation, didn't occur to him to place himself in the position of having, let's say, Iran take, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who's walking, down a street in Washington, D.C. out. Does he understand how that was an act of war? I don't know. I'll just read one, Paul Krugman, who's like us, beside himself. Trump has turned his back on everything that used to make America great. Under his leadership, we have become nothing more than a big, self-interested bully, a bully with delusions of grandeur, who isn't nearly as tough as he thinks he is. We abruptly abandon our allies, like the Kurds. We honor war criminals. We slap punitive tariffs on friendly nations like Canada for no good reason. And of course, after more than 15,000 lies, nothing our leader and his minions say can be trusted. and he says, and it's astonishing, but Trump and his guys seem taken aback by the fact that there's been an almost uniformly negative response to this assassination. What it has done is empower the Iranian regime. Iraq now has turned totally hostile to us. None of our allies have stepped up to support us. But what do you expect? That's what happens when you betray your friends and squander all your credibility. We are it's humiliating. Humiliating.
It's totally humiliating. I'm just thinking, like, this is karma for all the time I spent laughing at Italians with Berlusconi.
Oh, that they didn't have a functioning government and they had this clown as their prime minister. Yeah, right.
With his bunga bunga party.
Yeah, bunga. Right. And now we've got somebody even worse. We have a caller, too, though. And I didn't mean to suggest that one was related to the other. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hello, this is Kurt. How are you?
I'm fine, Kurt. How are you?
I'm doing great. The beep took a little long there. You've gotten a little serious since I decided to call, but I'm calling about throwing snowballs at people with kids.
Oh, good.
And not nearly so serious as the story about somebody getting shot, although I could have gotten hurt in this one. But when I was little, we lived at the base of a hill, and of course, then we were out sled riding with our steel runner sleds on the asphalt street, and the snowplow comes along, so that's kind of the enemy of our sled riding fun. So the idea was we were all going to throw snowballs at the little spinner on the back and clog it up so the guy couldn't salt the street. That was our 8-year-old fantasy, I suppose. So everybody's throwing snowballs at the truck, and a couple guys get good hits on the spinner. But my problem was I threw a bit like a girl, and my snowball went straight through the open window of the truck and hit the guy in the face. He stops the snowplow, gets out of his truck. I says, "Who did that? Who did that?" And I sort of meekly raised my hand.
You did? Oh, wow. You should get a medal.
Well, he was only 8.
I was little, And my dad was out shoveling the driveway or something, and he steps in and tells the guy, "He's my kid. I'll handle this."
Oh my
so
God!
The guy does get back. The guy does get back in his truck, and my dad comes over and says, "What did you do that for?" And I think parents realize early on that their kids are gay, because when I told him my intent was to hit the spinner on the back of the truck, and I only accidentally threw it at the window, he didn't question that a bit, as you might of a more capable boy. He just started laughing, and he said, "It's okay. I think the guy was drunk anyway." But I didn't tell my friends that, and they all thought I was a hero.
There you go. All right.
Yay!
Although I did see in this in the article,
the universal empowerers.
Yeah. Kurt, though, I did see that there was in the story on the Milwaukee snowball incident. It said that there have been cases where it's not the only case where people have pulled guns on somebody throwing a snowball, and how someone who was hit in the face with a snowball in Philadelphia killed the person who threw it. I don't know if it was a kid. You are one lucky kid.
Well,
no, he grew up in a different time, right?
Where they didn't.
Yeah, still runner sleds after all.
They didn't think it was a proportionate. Back then, they didn't think it was a proportionate response. If you get hit by a snowball, to just take the person out with your howitzer. God Almighty. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
we can always use a laugh.
Sure thing.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And speaking, okay, so we're now back to, you can see where the audience wants to go. This is Lou writing, in Pittsburgh, monkey balls were perfect. Were perfect for Devil's Night. When cut open, they're sticky and slimy. So you rub them on windows and cars. Oh, God. And they create a terrible mess. But they have a lovely citrus-like scent. I collected them one year and put them in a basket on my dining room table. One day I walked into my house and there was the most incredibly lovely grapefruit-like scent. Couldn't figure it out at first, but then discovered the Osage orange is the culprit. So I know for a fact the fragrance is lovely. I have them in my pots outside, decorating greenery. They look like fun Christmas bulbs. Squirrels love them. So there you go. Squirrels love them. What did I know? It's a wonder we don't all go scarf them up and stick them all over our house.
Yeah, hear me. I just thought of them as the thing that bonks you on the head as you're walking down.
I know. Who knew there was so much to know about monkey balls?
Monkey balls.
Right. So how
Yay.
incompetent an administration do you have to have that you actually send out a letter to a foreign government saying, here, I'll actually read it.
Oops. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the letter actually says, where is the freaking letter? Sir. This is it. This is from Marine Brigadier General William C. Lee to Iraqi Lieutenant General Abdul Amir. And this is after the Iraqi parliament voted to, tell us to get the hell out.
Throw us out.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the letter that went out. Sir, in due deference to the sovereignty of the Republic of Iraq, and as requested by the Iraqi parliament and the Prime Minister, the Combined Joint Task Force, Operation Inherent Resolve, will be repositioning forces over the course of the coming days and weeks to prepare for onward movement. What the fuck? First of all, did you know that the operation of our troops in Iraq is called Inherent Resolve? Who the fuck comes up with this stuff? Inherent Resolve. I guess not, because the Inherent Resolve guys are saying, okay, we'll leave.
Just melt it away.
Right? Oh, never mind. Okay, there goes our resolve.
So it must not be inherent. It must be totally volitional.
Right, we're out of here, and we're to our onward movement. The fuck does that mean?
Uh-huh.
Onward, Christian soldiers.
Right, it means wherever you're going next, which could be backwards.
Right, and then we had to say, oh, never mind, we didn't mean to send that. What level of incompetence are we looking at here?
No, the whole thing about it was, my favorite part was, oops.
Yeah, oops, oh no,
Call that back. You didn't see that. Just pretend like you didn't see that, okay? Don't share it. Don't let it out. Oops.
It's
Well, it's because the command has nothing to say about anything.
No, because they don't know what the commander-in-chief
They don't
is going to
know
do
what-
from moment to moment.
Trump's sitting on the toilet, thinking, oh, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then that happened.
This guy out and enraged the Iranians, who you don't.
Oh, yeah, it's really better for Jews in Israel.
Oh yeah, no. Watch him go after Israel. That might be the way they figure they can. I don't know. Yeah. Well, this will teach Netanyahu, who to cozy up with. Yeah, great friend to have. This lunatic. I don't know.
Well, pox on all their houses. They keep electing Netanyahu even though he's under indictment, for crying out loud.
Yeah, well, it's not that he got reelected, because he hasn't really been. He can't form a government, but he's been chosen by his party members, the Likud, to still head their party. That's the election he won.
Yeah.
And they're like, Likud is like the Republicans with Trump. Likud is with Netanyahu. Right. They just can't imagine any other way. They don't have a clue.
They don't care what he does because he gives them what they want.
Oh.
And it's also the religious right.
Yeah. Here is something that Barbara sent me that I really love. And the guy who said this, I never heard of. And I do feel real sorry about his first name, which he obviously had nothing to do with. You know, I don't like my first name, but this is worse. His first name is Smedley.
Oh no, Smedley.
Smedley. Oh, look at this
Smedley
cute
is like
little
something
baby.
I call my dog when the word doesn't come out.
Yeah, right. Oh, let's call this cute little baby Smedley. So Smedley D. Butler. But here's what Smedley said, and it's worth noting. War is a racket. It always has been a racket. It is possibly the oldest, easily most profitable, surely the most vicious racket. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described as something that is not what it seems to the majority of people. Only a small inside group knows what it is really all about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very, very few at the expense of the very many. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes. There is so much truth in that. Obviously, some wars have to be fought, but the wars we've been fighting of late, none of them.
Well, yeah, this Afghanistan thing where where now they release all the documents that show that everybody just decided that the only course forward was to lie,
right,
and to keep doing it for some reason.
Yep, but see, here again, though,
I
Susan,
don't understand why.
Like McCarthy and now Trump being so much the same, there you see the reaction of the people in the Pentagon and the White House in regard to Afghanistan, exactly what happened during Vietnam. They knew in both instances this was unwinnable, that this was taking us down, and they didn't know what to do. They couldn't admit it. They couldn't leave. And obviously Vietnam ended in total humiliation for us, and Afghanistan will as well, just as Iraq has. Look what we've done to that. Remember, we went into Iraq. How long ago was that now, guys? Getting close to 20 years ago.
About 25.
No. It would have been, we went into Iraq in, I think, 2003. So 17 years ago.
Oh, that's right. Okay, you're right.
17 years ago.
Right.
And I'm sure the Iraqis are very grateful. They didn't have a great situation before, but now, how many of them are dead? How totally destabilized is the entire region they live in? What do we think we're doing? And we think people are thanking us? We're like we're like a really bad Godzilla. We're destructive. We're awful. I'm sorry, guys. We're awful, and we should be ashamed. Just saying.
And we have documentation that shows that we're doing it to no avail, for no actual purpose other than we don't know how to stop.
Yeah.
And yeah, few people are making a lot of money. and not that many people are dying. So and we all know that these things are you do the math, and a few lives you can afford.
Unbelievable. New York Times business section today. Trump.
Speaking of doing the math.
Yeah, Trump likes to herald what a great negotiator he is, and how his tariffs have brought China to its knees, and everybody else. And he keeps saying the Chinese are like paying. We're taxing the hell out of China. I wanted to see his most recent verbal fart. We're taxing the hell out of China. Well, guess what? I mean, I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but a report was issued yesterday by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. These guys take numbers seriously, right? And here's what they said. The United States tariffs continue to be almost solely borne by American firms and mostly consumers. Approximately 100% of import taxes fell on American buyers. He's killing us. In regard to this...
You know this to be true. Whatever he says, the exact opposite is in fact the truth.
And the Fed goes on to say manufacturing as a result is slumping. Business investment has suffered because corporate executives are waiting to see how or if this will end. Trump has continued to incorrectly assert that China is paying the cost of the tariffs. The research shows that the tariffs have had little impact on China. And then they talk specifically about the impact of these tariffs on the steel industry, which certainly should be of interest here, formerly the steel capital of the world. And it says here that domestic steel production has barely budged, which bodes poorly for hiring in the U.S. steel industry. The steel industry is not getting much protection as a result of these tariffs. And this is coming directly from the people at the New York Federal Reserve Bank. Just to keep it real. We have a caller. So, hello.
Susan. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Susan. Happy New Year. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know Lynn has a birthday.
Coming up.
Or either past or coming up.
Coming up.
But anyway, did you read Rachel Maddow Drift?
No.
When she talks about war. And it's a fabulous read. It's a short read. And then if you've not read Blowout, you definitely should read Blowout, which talks about the oil and gas industry, because she's right on point. And just follow the money. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
Follow the money.
Yep. Well, did you see one of the things that Trump said when they were saying, we spent all this money building up this Air Force base here in Iraq, and we want to keep that. He really thinks that he can stay in a country when the country doesn't want him to. And then he's telling them, you got to reimburse us for this. I don't think
delusional.
They never asked us to come. Did they?
No, they didn't.
No, I don't believe. I believe there was.
And depose their government?
No, I believe no. They didn't. They did not sign off on that shock and awe stuff that we watched on CNN as it happened. It's beyond belief. So okay, so
It is unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. Thanks for the call.
Definitely get those two books. They're great reads. Or if you could do the Audible, she reads them. It's fabulous.
Okay, thanks for the tip. Appreciated.
Okay.
Thank
Right,
you.
bye-bye.
Bye. All right. I have one thing here. I don't want to malign people who take cruises. I really don't. Some of my best friends take cruises. But I will never get over the sight of one of these cruise ships. I was in the south of France, but taking that windy road up to like where
The Corniche.
as if you were heading up to
Driving on the Corniche.
okay,
Right.
where isn't that the road Grace Kelly
Where Grace Kelly fell off the edge.
Yeah. So I gotta tell you, it's a little harrowing, but you go up there and you go higher and higher, and beneath you is the Mediterranean and these little villages hanging off the mountains, and it's so incredibly beautiful. And as I was watching this, all of a sudden I saw this monstrosity, out of scale thing in sitting offshore, and it was one of these huge cruise ships, and the outsizeness of it in relation to absolutely everything else in my purview. It looked. Do you remember when that huge yellow ducky was floating in the river here? The ridiculous outsized duck. I think it first appeared in China, and then it ended up here. That was like a performance art piece. There was, and knowing that this monstrosity of a ship was dumping its crap and everything else into the waters. I so hate these things. And I think they should be disallowed. What set me off is an article that I saw in the Wall Street Journal that Carnival Cruise Lines is now building the biggest.
Oh, no.
This thing, Susan, it is such a monstrosity. It will hold almost 7,000 customers. You got to have a crew every bit as big. 180,000 ton floating town, 3 football fields long, 18 decks. It'll have a roller coaster on it.
Oh, why? Oh, God. I mean, go. And then, with the day 3, 2,000 people have norovirus. Yay!
They're going to call it the Mardi Gras. Get this, though. The Mardi Gras will be such a monstrosity, it will be too big to ever go anywhere near its namesake port, New Orleans. It is, they have pictures of this. It is such a monstrosity. And unfortunately, the cruise industry is growing by leaps and bounds. Last year, over 28 million people took a cruise. I want you all to stop. I want these businesses to go down. Please.
When I was 13, the family, my bat mitzvah present was that the whole family got to go to Europe, which still rankles me to this day. I'm not sure why that was my bat mitzvah present.
Susan,
anyway.
That's funny because I didn't think that was your bat mitzvah present. That was not. My understanding of why we did that trip. See, watch some family dynamics play out here now. I was under the care at the time of the only psychiatrist in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I believe
terrible.
Oh my God. And I believe it was his suggestion to our parents that I think you should.
Well, you should take the waters.
Yes, everybody just leave, get her out of here, blah, blah, blah. When the one thing I needed was to get away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah? So instead, I'm trapped with them. Susan, that was the most miserable trip of my life. It might have been of your life. Bill was so miserable that when we got to Israel, he informed us at breakfast in Tel Aviv, that he was going no further.
He wasn't leaving.
And we left him there. He was 18. I was 16. You were 13. And Susan, I remember that as the most horrific experience of my life. Our first trip to Europe.
Well, no, for all of us. And as I said, this clears it up. So you mean I just never got about it?
No, I think that was it. They just thought, oh, look, and it coincides. It's like kids who are, birthdays come at Christmas. They get screwed. Right? You got screwed. It was conflated into, and Susan, we're taking you to Europe. No one wanted to go. Do you think Mom and Dad had a good time? Oh, my God. They had 3 miserable kids with them. I remember sitting in a cab in London with Mom saying, there's Big Ben. And I closed my eyes. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Yeah, there was one shrink in Green Bay.
Anyway, that isn't why I was telling the story.
Oh.
The part that I actually did enjoy was going home.
On the ship.
Because we went home on the sister ship.
It was the USS Rotterdam.
Of the Queen Mary, I think.
No. It was a Viking. No, Susan, it was a Norwegian ship, the USS Rotterdam.
Yeah, USS Rotterdam, but it had a very famous sister ship, and I'm trying to think of what it was.
Who the hell knows what it was, but it was a neat ship. I liked it too.
Anyway. But it was an old-fashioned ship. It looked like, sort of like the Titanic. That was the style.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully appointed, and it was, and it was fun for 5 days, although it was the Atlantic crossing and the ocean was rough, and I think most people were seasick, and improbably I was not.
I was also making out in a lifeboat with this guy.
I told you the best part was.
And I also had a dalliance in Florence with Mario. No, it was in Florence. Mario, the elevator boy.
Elevator boy.
Oh my God. He stopped in between floors and turned and started peeling off his white gloves. Bella, Bella, Bella. And I was such a miserable soul at that time. I mean, nothing major happened, but I did go up to the roof with him. Oh, man. The trip.
Why the hell not?
The trip from hell. So, anyway.
Then you were pretty Bella with your bouffant flip.
Hey, man, I was hot. Yeah. Yeah. I was hot. I was the most...
Which was, in fact, all you said muster.
Oh, Jesus, God almighty. I think we're done. I have to go see another shrink. We aren't done?
Mitzvah trip.
What? How did that come up? Oh, we were talking about cruise ships. Yeah, and that was the only time I was on one. Don't ever...
Well, me too. And I don't... and I used to think maybe it would be fun to go, and my husband never wanted to. And then we started seeing those things, which to me always looked like a extra strong tampon clogging those beautiful little natural inlets along the Mediterranean. It was, disgusting.
Susan, what was disgusting was your metaphor, and I think we're out of time.
With that, I leave you. Happy New Year, all.
Yes, Happy New Year, all. Try to get that picture
It's
that
8
Susan
o'clock
has.
my time.
All right, well, fine. Try to get that out of your head if you can, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I can't. That's been there, lodged there for a while.
Will you
Bye.
stop with the lodged and the whole just go away? Thank you, Susan. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.